something is shifting. Not loudly, not publicly. There are no sirens, no breaking news, no loud announcements echoing through the streets. And yet, the chosen feel it. It stirs quietly, like a whisper from heaven carried on the wind. It hums in the bones, in the stillness of the mind, in the quiet ache that says, this world is no longer enough. It is not chaos on the outside that marks the beginning of the end. It is the unrest within. This is how the true signs come, and only those who have been called can sense them. The world is crossing into something new. 2026 isn't just another year on the calendar, it's a threshold, a divine turning point. What was once hidden will come to light, illusions will dissolve, and every soul will stand face to face with what it has buried, ignored, or denied. The ones who are chosen for this time are not looking for drama or disaster. They feel the signs in subtler ways, in the exhaustion that sleep can't cure, in the growing distance from shallow connections, in the hunger for something real. They don't need fire in the sky to know that a spiritual storm is already here. And this is why the word apocalypse has been misunderstood. It does not simply mean destruction, it means an unveiling, a revealing. And the first thing God reveals is not the world outside you, but the truth within you. As it is written, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Matthew 11:15. And if you are hearing this, it may not be by accident. It may be that the Lord is stirring something in you. A calling, a deeper awareness, a sacred discomfort meant not to harm, but to awaken. These signs are not meant to scare you, they are meant to prepare you, because something holy is unfolding, and you have a part in it. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, I invite you to declare your readiness. If your heart resonates, type Amen in the comments, not as a ritual, but as a simple, faithful yes to God's refining work in you. And don't go anywhere, because we'll close this message with a powerful prayer just for you. And so, the quiet signs continue. After the first stirrings of awareness come the deeper tremors not of the earth, but of the soul. While the world still turns as it always has, the chosen begin to sense that something essential is no longer in place. It's not the collapse of cities they fear, but the collapse of certainty. The apocalypse, for them, is not an explosion. It's a revealing, not of monsters or fire, but of truth. You see, the word apocalypse has long been misunderstood. To many, it calls to mind chaos and ruin, storms and smoke. But in its original meaning, it simply means to unveil. And what is unveiled first is not the future, but the heart. In this unveiling, the soul begins to reject false comfort. The promises of success, status, and control things once clung to tightly suddenly feel hollow. Conversations feel shallow. Ambition feels aimless. The noise of the world grows louder, but it no longer reaches the spirit. And in the quiet, something sacred emerges, the call to truth. This inner shift is rarely dramatic. Often, it begins with a slow discomfort that has no clear name. The chosen feel restless, unsettled, not because life is falling apart around them, but because they know it is falling apart within. And this is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of alignment. Think of Elijah in the wilderness. He wasn't running from danger, he was being repositioned. In his solitude, under the weight of fear and weariness, the Lord did not come to him in the earthquake or the fire or the wind, but in a still, small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. That's how the chosen hear. That's how they know. And in 2026, this inner shift deepens. It grows sharper, more obvious. What was once tolerable becomes unbearable. False identities, surface-level roles, and the approval of others lose their hold. The chosen are being pulled towards something more honest, even if that honesty costs them everything. This is why the signs are feared, because they ask something of us. They demand that we stop pretending, that we let go of what no longer serves the soul. And this letting go is not punishment, it's purification. As the psalmist wrote, "Search me, God, and know my heart. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Psalm 139-23, 2-4. That prayer becomes a reality in this season. The chosen begin to see what others can't. Contradictions that used to hide in plain sight, words that no longer carry weight, systems that promise purpose but deliver emptiness. The world keeps offering distractions, but the Spirit no longer takes the bait. The noise feels heavy, the silence holy. And yes, it's lonely, to feel deeply in a world that numbs, to wake up in a world that sleeps. But this is how souls are trained, not in crowds, but in deserts. Not through ease, but through encounter. By 2026, the line between illusion and truth will grow clearer. The cost of staying asleep will rise, and the weight of pretending will become too much to bear. Those who resist will feel pressure, but those who have been preparing, often unknowingly, will find strength. Because this is not destruction, it is divine exposure, and what is exposed can finally be healed. This discomfort, this restlessness, this sense that something is coming, it isn't the end, it's the beginning, not of disaster, but of divine clarity. The chosen are not being punished. They are being positioned, made ready, refined. The world may not understand it, but the soul does. As the journey continues, another quiet sign begins to emerge, one that is rarely talked about, but deeply felt. The chosen don't just sense a shift in their emotions or values. They begin to feel disconnected from time itself. Not as if they're running late or too early, but as though they're on a different timeline altogether, misaligned with the pace of the world. It's like standing still in a river that's rushing by, unable to move with the current and yet unable to step out of it. This isn't laziness, it's not confusion, and it certainly isn't weakness. It's perception. It's the gift and burden of expanded awareness. As their consciousness deepens, the chosen begin to experience time not as a line to follow, but as a field to move within. They notice how a single day can feel like both a blur and a burden. How the weeks slip past, yet one conversation or thought can echo in their spirit for days. While the world glorifies speed and productivity, their souls begin to hunger for something else: stillness, slowness, space. And this creates tension. Many of the chosen carry a quiet guilt. They feel they should be doing more, achieving more, showing up in the ways the world expects. But something inside resists. They can no longer force themselves to live by borrowed rhythms, by the artificial urgency that defines modern life. And in times of revelation, this misalignment intensifies. We live in an age of acceleration. Everything moves faster: news cycles, trends, opinions, judgments. But the chosen are being rewired in the opposite direction. Not because they chose it, but because the deeper spiritual work requires it. Their nervous systems, their intuition, their emotional depth, they simply cannot function in an environment driven by constant reaction and noise. And so they slow down. Not out of apathy, but necessity. Their bodies, their hearts, their spirits begin to reject what no longer aligns. Even when they try to force momentum, to push through the fatigue, to meet deadlines, to chase relevance, the result is often burnout or confusion. The message is loud but subtle. You were not made for this kind of speed. What the world sees as stagnation is, in truth, sacred integration. Like seeds breaking open beneath the soil, The chosen are being transformed in ways the surface cannot yet explain. Identity is shifting, old values are falling away. Priorities are being reordered, not by pressure, but by truth. And truth, unlike trends, cannot be rushed. This is not failure, it's formation. Scripture speaks to this strange timing. In Ecclesiastes 3, we are told, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." The chosen are beginning to live by this sacred time, not the ticking of the clock, but the movement of the Spirit. They begin to understand that they are not falling behind. They are being aligned. And yes, it's lonely. Goals and deadlines that once inspired now feel hollow. Success loses its shine when it's not connected to purpose. Conversations about performance begin to sound like noise when the soul is yearning for meaning. But this discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something deeper is being prepared. The chosen are not being asked to escape the world. They're being invited to move through it differently, with presence, not pressure, with awareness, not anxiety. Their role is not to keep up with the race, but to remind the world that there is another way to live, a way marked by clarity, rootedness, and grace. In this new relationship with time, everything begins to change. And though this shift may go unnoticed by the world, it is one of the clearest signs of all. A sign that something holy is being built, not quickly, but faithfully, not loudly, but deeply. And the chosen, even in their stillness, are right where they're meant to be. There is a moment in every sacred unfolding when truth can no longer be postponed. It does not arrive with thunder or flame, but with quiet, undeniable clarity. That clarity often comes in the form of one of the most feared and confronting signs of transformation, when the masks begin to fall. And not just the public ones, the personal ones, the ones worn even in solitude. This isn't about grand exposures or scandalous revelations. It's about the slow erosion of illusion, the kind that once offered safety but now feels suffocating. In the atmosphere of 2026, this process accelerates not through punishment, but because the spiritual climate can no longer sustain anything that isn't real. What is false becomes heavy. What is hollow begins to echo. The chosen feel this long before it becomes visible to others. They've spent years sensing when a conversation carries hidden tension, when a seemingly kind gesture conceals fear or control, when institutions are propped up by performance rather than purpose. But what was once private knowing now becomes collective awareness. Systems begin to falter not from external attack, but from internal fracture. Narratives unravel, not because someone tears them down, but because they can no longer hold themselves up. This shaking is terrifying for many, especially for those who built their sense of belonging on what is now crumbling. The illusion had become a shelter. Its fall feels like exposure. But for the chosen, there's a strange duality in this moment: sorrow and relief, grief and release. Because they know that no lie, however well dressed, can nurture the soul. On a personal level, this unveiling strikes even deeper. Relationships formed around performance, control, or codependence quietly loosen. People drift apart not with drama, but with distance. What once felt solid reveals its fragility. The chosen are no longer willing or even able to perform roles that deny their true selves. It isn't about blame, it's about honesty. And honesty, though liberating, often travels with loneliness. But not all loneliness is abandonment. Some of it is refinement, the shedding of layers that no longer fit. The chosen begin to understand that they cannot carry the weight of old identities into the time that is now forming. What many call losing people is often the quiet consequence of finding oneself. The scriptures speak of this process through the life of Gideon. Before his battle, God told him, "You have too many men." Judges 7-2. Victory would not come through numbers, but through refinement. And so Gideon was told to send many away, not because they were unworthy, but because they weren't meant for the battle ahead. So too, the chosen must learn. Not everyone can walk with you into the next chapter. And that's not rejection, that's divine arrangement. The second sign, equally feared and just as quiet, is separation, not physical, but spiritual. It begins as a subtle shift. Conversations lose their depth. Shared interests dissolve. There are no confrontations, just quiet distance. Familiar faces now feel unfamiliar. The rhythm no longer matches. And the chosen often wrestle with guilt, wondering if they're becoming cold or withdrawing too much. But the truth is simple. Awakening creates contrast. The soul, once stretched into new awareness, cannot shrink back into old habits. It seeks what is real, what is resonant, what carries weight. Bonds built on routine or fear of being alone no longer hold. The chosen do not feel superior. They simply feel out of place, drawn toward truth, unable to settle for anything less. This rift can appear anywhere, in families, in workplaces, in spiritual communities. The chosen feel it when the values they live no longer align with the systems they serve. They can no longer speak what they don't believe, support what they know is broken, or remain silent where truth is needed. And in 2026, this divergence becomes more defined. The soul can no longer afford compromise. The inner self demands alignment. There is no more room for living in two directions, and so the path narrows. The silence between people widens, not as punishment, but as preparation. This kind of separation leaves no dramatic exit, no clean closure, just an unspoken knowing that one path is parting into two, and it stings. It stings because the love is still there, but the alignment is gone. The care remains, but the rhythm has changed. Still, in the midst of this ache, there is peace. Not loud peace, but deep peace, the peace of no longer needing to shrink, explain, or pretend. The peace of living whole, even if that means walking alone. This is not a season of loss, it's a season of placement. Each soul is being positioned where it must stand when the new begins to rise. The chosen recognize this, not through logic, but through resonance. Something within tells them, this silence has meaning. This distance has purpose. And so they walk forward not because it's easy, but because the truth has become too clear to ignore. Awakening is often spoken of as light breaking through darkness, as freedom finally being tasted. But what is rarely named is the inner weight that follows, the quiet psychological cost that the chosen carry long before anyone else notices a change. When perception widens, innocence does not vanish, but it transforms. The mind can no longer rest inside simple explanations. Stories that once felt complete begin to fracture. Certainty loosens its grip. The chosen start to see layers where others see answers, and this seeing is not abstract or intellectual. It presses on the heart. It changes how reality feels. As it is written, the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2-6. Yet wisdom is never light in weight. It reshapes the inner world before it brings peace. With expanded awareness comes a deep internal tension. The chosen are no longer fully held by collective beliefs, yet they are not detached from life. They still feel, often more intensely than before. This combination, heightened sensitivity, paired with broader perception, can be exhausting. The soul is awake, but the structures that once supported it have weakened. Many discover that the answers they relied on were partial, shaped by context or convenience, rather than truth. This realization does not empty them, but it leaves them unanchored for a season. They stand between frameworks. The old meanings no longer hold, and the new ones have not yet settled. Scripture describes this condition when it says, "We see through a glass, darkly," 1 Corinthians 13:12. Clarity is promised, but not immediately. First comes the disorientation of learning to live without false certainty. This in-between state often shows itself as fatigue, withdrawal, or a longing for simplicity, not because life has become too heavy, but because the mind is learning a new way to hold reality. It is being trained to sit with ambiguity without collapsing into fear. During this time, empathy deepens as well. The chosen begin to sense what others do not say. They feel tension beneath politeness, grief behind routine conversations, instability beneath structures that still appear solid. This perception is not imagination, it is sensitivity sharpened by truth. But without boundaries, it can feel overwhelming, like carrying too many emotional signals at once. Many chosen quietly question themselves during this phase, wondering why ordinary environments drain them, why crowds exhaust them, why shallow exchanges feel almost painful. What they are experiencing is not weakness. It is the nervous system adjusting to a deeper register of awareness. Because of this, periods of isolation often arise naturally, not as rejection and not as punishment, but as stabilization. Even Scripture speaks of this rhythm: "Be still and know that the Lord is God," Psalm 46:10. Stillness becomes necessary so the psyche can reorganize around a deeper center. Without space, awareness overwhelms instead of clarifies. In real life, many who have walked this path describe seasons where they stepped back from familiar roles, reduced stimulation, and allowed silence to do its work. Over time, they realized that this withdrawal was not a loss of life, but a reordering of it. Another burden that emerges is responsibility. Once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. Once misalignment is recognized, pretending ignorance becomes impossible. This creates internal pressure, not from pride, but from conscience. The chosen feel compelled toward coherence, where insight and action must slowly come into harmony. This is not moral superiority. It is integrity forming. And integrity asks much. The mind longs for reassurance, belonging, and quick resolution, but awakening rarely offers these at the beginning. Instead, it offers truth unpolished and demanding. This is why many resist awakening without realizing it. The cost feels too high. Yet, for the chosen, resisting brings greater suffering than acceptance, because the soul knows there is no returning to what was. With time, something stabilizes. The chosen develop resilience that is quiet and deep. They learn to hold tension without breaking, to feel without drowning, to see clearly without losing compassion. The cost of awakening does not disappear, but it transforms into strength. Like the disciples on the road to Emmaus, who walked in confusion and sorrow until understanding slowly unfolded, Luke 24-15:32, the chosen move through uncertainty before recognition arrives. And when it does, they are no longer dependent on illusion for safety. They are anchored inwardly. This is why awakening is feared, not because it destroys, but because it restructures the inner world. And restructuring always involves loss before clarity. Those who endure this phase emerge quieter, less reactive, and less dependent on external approval, not untouched by pain, but shaped by truth, not hardened, but real. When the noise of the world reaches its peak, when distractions multiply and clarity seems rare, something begins to rise quietly among the chosen. It's not loud, it's not celebrated, and it often feels like a burden, but it is sacred. It is the gift and cost of discernment. Not everyone welcomes this gift. Discernment strips away illusions too quickly. It leaves no place to hide. It forces the soul to confront what others are content to overlook. In seasons of revelation, such as the one unfolding in 2026, This inner clarity no longer waits politely. It pushes forward. It demands to be honored. The chosen start sensing shifts before words are spoken. They walk into rooms and feel the atmosphere shift, an unspoken tension, a misaligned intention, a smile that doesn't match the spirit behind it. Others may be fooled by appearances, but the chosen carry a different kind of sight. It is not suspicion, it is spiritual intelligence, a knowing that goes beyond logic. It is the Spirit bearing witness within them. The Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit. Romans 8:16. This knowing protects, but it also isolates. They begin to feel the weight of seeing what others ignore. What looks normal to many appears hollow to them. What's celebrated by the crowd may feel counterfeit to their spirit. And so a gap opens, a space between perception and acceptance. They notice patterns repeating, charming words hiding control, opportunities laced with compromise, communities built not on truth, but on shared fear. And while others press forward, the chosen hesitate. They feel it in their body, in their breath. And often, they walk away not because they are cynical, but because they've learned to trust the warning that comes before the fall. But discernment doesn't only guide, it also exhausts. To constantly sense what others pretend not to see is to live with a certain kind of ache. The chosen don't hate the world, they long for its healing. And yet, this longing can grow heavy when surrounded by denial. They often ask themselves if they're too much, too sensitive, too serious. But deep down, they know they are not broken. They are simply awake. In the Gospel of Mark, there is a moment when Jesus, surrounded by crowds, retreats to solitary places to pray, Mark 1:35. Not because he feared the people, but because he needed alignment with the Father to continue walking in clarity. In the same way, the chosen of this age feel a pull toward silence not as withdrawal, but as sacred preservation. For as discernment sharpens, the need for stillness grows. In 2026, the pressure to respond to everything, to react, to post, to explain, will be immense. But the chosen will begin to speak less. Not out of fear, but because they understand the cost of careless words. They know that not every conversation leads to truth. They've seen how trying to convince someone not ready to hear only drains both souls. This silence is not distance, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that spiritual insight must be guarded, not scattered. That some things are meant to be protected, not publicized. Do not throw your pearls to pigs, Jesus said in Matthew 7-6, not out of contempt, but as a lesson in stewardship. There is also a rising sense of responsibility. With greater clarity comes greater weight. Words begin to carry impact. Thoughts begin to shape direction. Actions start to ripple far beyond what is visible. And suddenly, the chosen can no longer live on autopilot. There is no more room for carelessness. They sense that their lives are being watched, not by people, but by heaven. And they feel the inner echo of Psalm 139-23-24. Search me, God, and know my heart. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. This isn't pressure for perfection, it's a call to coherence. To let what they know shape how they live. To let truth take root in the ordinary. To embody what they've been shown, even when no one is watching. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, and most of the time, it's misunderstood. There are moments when they want to disappear, simplify everything, return to innocence. But innocence is not where they belong now. They've crossed into maturity. And maturity means walking in truth without applause, making choices that are right, even when they're unpopular, standing still when others rush, speaking softly when the world shouts. But silence, when it is born of discernment, does not weaken the chosen, it roots them. In that silence, the voice of God grows louder, the path becomes clearer. the soul steadies. They realize that not all wisdom is loud, that some of the strongest people are those who speak least and listen longest, that sometimes waiting saves more than acting ever could. This is why discernment is feared, because it divides, it exposes, it humbles, it offers no illusions, only truth, and truth demands a life that reflects it. The chosen, in receiving this clarity, are not excused from pain, but they are protected from deception. As the world spins faster and confusion spreads, those who carry silence and spiritual responsibility within them will not be easily shaken. They will move slower, but with purpose. They may be quiet, but they will see clearly. They may not always be understood, but they will remain whole. And this wholeness, quiet, unshakable, and hard-won, is what will carry them through 2026 and beyond. If the veil is lifting, if what we're witnessing is not the end, but the great revealing, then the question must be asked plainly: how does one live truthfully in a world still addicted to illusion? Not by running away, not by trying to convince the masses, not by performing spiritual superiority, but by choosing day after day to live with quiet integrity. When the world leans toward noise and panic, the chosen are not called to match that energy. They are called to become still, to root themselves deeply in the present, to walk slowly through sacred ground even when that ground looks like an ordinary Tuesday. Revelation, after all, doesn't demand a stage. It requires attention. The beginning of that attention is awareness. Not the kind that watches others, but the kind that watches the self. Each morning is an invitation to return to the breath, the body, the thoughts that shape the day. The chosen are not expected to be perfect, but they are asked to be honest, to listen before reacting, to notice what feels heavy, what feels clear, what feels out of step. Let us examine our ways and test them, writes the prophet in Lamentations 3:40, and let us return to the Lord. This daily self-return is not self-centeredness, it is spiritual maintenance. From that place of quiet awareness, another practice begins to grow, protecting what enters. In a season where truth is unveiled, noise becomes not just distracting, but dangerous. Endless streams of information, scrolling through curated opinions, and emotional overload slowly cloud the clarity the soul is being gifted. The chosen begin to treat their attention like a sacred offering. Not everything deserves access to your mind. Not every headline needs a reaction. Just as the high priests once entered the holy place with preparation and care, the chosen learn to guard the temple of their inner world. And with this guarding comes a new pace. Not slower in weakness, but slower in wisdom. The world exalts urgency, but urgency is rarely the friend of truth. Revelation cannot be rushed. Clarity does not arrive on demand. And so, the chosen pause before commitments. They sit in silence before they speak big truths. They resist the need to be seen acting, and instead wait for the moment when stillness has ripened into discernment. Whoever believes will not act hastily, says Isaiah 28:16. The soul that moves in truth does not sprint, it walks with reverence. Relationships also begin to shift, not through dramatic exits or confrontations, but through quiet honesty. There comes a time when maintaining harmony through self-betrayal no longer feels sustainable. The chosen start to notice where they shrink, where they smile while their soul protests, where they bend so others won't break. And from that noticing, they begin to let go, not from resentment, but from alignment. Distance grows where there once was performance. Boundaries replace explanations. Silence replaces justification. What is no longer alive is not resuscitated, it is released. Integrity becomes a compass, not a badge. It doesn't mean doing everything right. It means noticing when you don't and choosing to correct it, gently, without self-condemnation. Small, repeated adjustments matter more than sweeping declarations. The chosen know that a life built in truth is rarely loud. It is consistent, quietly firm, transparent, not for applause, but for peace. And peace requires tending to the inner landscape. Emotions still come, fatigue still visits, discouragement still knocks. But the chosen learn not to run from these visitors. They sit with them, listen to their message, and allow space for healing. Emotional pain, in this light, becomes a refining fire, not a sign that something is wrong, but that something real is being forged. The testing of your faith produces perseverance, James writes, James 1-3, and perseverance over time gives birth to maturity. In this season, another shift becomes clear, the release of obsession with outcomes. The chosen stop trying to predict. They stop scanning the horizon for signs. They stop needing to know what's next. Revelation asks for presence, not prediction. The body is cared for. The home is tended. The small moments are honored. Because grounding is not distraction, it is preparation. The one who learns to live well in the simple will not be easily shaken in the storm. Speech changes too. Words slow down. The chosen begin to feel the weight of each sentence. Not every insight is meant to be shared. Not every realization requires witness. There is a wisdom in restraint. There is a holiness in silence. And when words do come, they are shaped not by emotion, but by clarity. They do not cut, they carry. Without platform or spotlight, the chosen begin to serve truth in quiet ways. In fairness, in restraint, in consistency. They correct the small wrongs that others ignore. They do not manipulate for power. They do not twist truth to comfort themselves. They live cleanly, and others feel it, even if they cannot name it. The light shines not because it's trying to, but because it is. And perhaps the hardest lesson of all, they learn to trust what they do not yet understand. They stop forcing meaning. They stop needing everything to make sense. They let the revelation unfold like a scroll, line by line, day by day. Because the work of the chosen is not to control what is being revealed. It is to remain in alignment as it is revealed. And so, 2026 becomes not a storm to survive, but a threshold to walk through deliberately, faithfully, with both eyes open and heart anchored. The world may tremble, but those who are rooted in truth will not fall. They will not need to shout. They will not need to run. They will simply keep showing up in spirit and in action as steady points of light in a time that needs it most. There comes a point subtle but unmistakable when something within no longer seeks answers but begins to carry one. It is the moment when awakening matures into calling. Not everyone reaches this place at the same time. Many have spent years navigating the dark corridors of loss, inattention, isolation, and disillusionment. They have outgrown environments that once felt like home. They've watched familiar rhythms become intolerable, and truths that once offered comfort begin to crack under their own weight. And still, they walked on, not always understanding, but unable to turn back. But 2026 brings a shift that cannot be postponed. For the chosen, it is no longer about healing what was. It is about becoming what is needed. This is one of the most feared and sacred signs of the times, not because it brings catastrophe, but because it removes the illusion of delay. The quiet excuses that once softened compromise begin to vanish. The path narrows, not with judgment, but with clarity. The chosen realize nothing in their life was random. The betrayals, the severed ties, the seasons of silence, the strange heaviness that followed them through years, they weren't obstacles to the path. They were part of the path. Every collapse was a refinement, every discomfort a preparation. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Paul writes in Romans 8:28, not just in comfort, but in confusion too. Calling, in its truest form, is not about being seen. It is not about rising to public prominence or performing a role. Often, it is about invisible obedience, the refusal to betray what the Spirit has revealed, even when no one else understands. It's in how one moves through ordinary life with integrity, how one quietly refuses what is false, how one carries truth like a flame that can't be put out. This is what makes calling so costly. It asks for coherence, not perfection, but honesty between knowing and doing. In 2026, this alignment becomes not just desirable, it becomes necessary. The time for living in contradiction with oneself is coming to an end. And for those who attempt to remain split between comfort and conviction, the pressure will grow unbearable. The chosen begin to sense that certain places, people, or patterns no longer just feel heavy, they feel impossible. The body resists, the spirit recoils. Fatigue deepens not from effort, but from inner dissonance. This is not emotional fragility, it is spiritual intelligence maturing. The soul begins to enforce its own boundaries, and the cost of self-betrayal becomes too high. Responsibility takes on new meaning. The chosen become stewards of their energy, not out of arrogance, but necessity. Every environment that distorts their peace, every relationship built on performance or manipulation, every conversation meant to pull them into pretense, these become unbearable. Not because they believe they are above others, but because their spirit is no longer willing to live beneath what is real. And the world, in parallel, begins to reflect this shift. Systems that have been held together by habit, fear, or blind loyalty begin to crack. Ideas that once shaped the masses start to lose weight. Structures that once promised safety feel hollow. There is no great war, no loud collapse, just unraveling. Quiet, steady, undeniable. Whatever is shaken, says Hebrews 12:27, is removed so that what cannot be shaken may remain. In 2026, the distinction between illusion and truth will be illuminated like never before, not through dramatic displays, but through contrast. The emptiness of superficial pursuits will become unbearable. The pain of living misaligned will feel heavier than the pain of change. Those who live out of sync with their own essence will feel adrift. But those who have walked through long seasons of refinement will begin to feel something different, not relief, but readiness. It won't be easier, but it will be clearer. The chosen will no longer ask for signs. The signs will be everywhere. They'll feel it in their skin, in their breath, in the still moments that now carry weight. They will sense that they are being summoned not to perform, but to become, not to shout, but to walk in quiet strength, not to convince, but to embody. 2026 is not just another year, it is a crossing, a silent point of no return in human consciousness. The option of neutrality dissolves. Choices that were once postponed will now demand resolution. Many will try to cling to the old, to patch the cracked surface of their lives with distraction. But the cracks will widen, and what cannot hold truth will fall. For the chosen, this will be a season of deep internal decision. It will not be marked by noise, but by sacred pressure, the kind that clarifies, not crushes. They'll find themselves needing less and seeking more, needing fewer opinions and craving greater alignment. They will stop explaining their truth and start living it. The difference in 2026 will not be in the events that occur, but in how each soul responds. Some will unravel, some will awaken. The chosen will not be immune to difficulty, but they will walk through it, anchored, because they've already died to what was false, because they've already begun the long, slow process of becoming real. And that process cannot be reversed. The chosen do not fear 2026 because they've carried the weight of it long before the calendar ever arrived. They've already been walking with the signs, the loss of interest in the superficial, the spiritual fatigue that can't be explained, the quiet call to live more truthfully, even if it costs them belonging. This isn't collapse. It's transition. And while the world may call it strange, the chosen recognize it for what it is, a preparation for what only truth can hold. There will be no going back, not because it's forbidden, but because it no longer fits. 2026 won't require perfection. It will require presence. It won't ask for panic. It will ask for discernment. And while not everyone will answer the call, those who do will become what this world desperately needs: clear minds, steady spirits, and lives aligned from the inside out. And so, we arrive not at an end, but at a threshold. What has been spoken is not meant to offer closure, but invitation. Because the signs, the stirrings, the inner awakenings that have quietly unfolded are not random spiritual episodes. They are a preparation not for escape, but for embodiment. The chosen are not being lifted out of the world. They are being planted deeper into it, but differently, with clearer sight, with cleaner hearts, with quieter strength. As 2026 unfolds, it becomes clear that we are no longer being called to simply understand what is happening, but to live as those who have understood. This is the deeper transition, from insight to embodiment, from awareness to spiritual authority, not the kind that seeks control, but the kind that silently transforms space simply by being aligned. The chosen are being asked to carry peace into pressure, to walk with compassion where fear multiplies, to remain inwardly anchored when everything external is being reshuffled. This is no longer about watching signs. This is about becoming one, becoming a living sign of clarity in confusion, of stillness in noise, of truth in a world that survives by illusion. And this is not done through grand gestures or public declarations, but through the unshakable consistency of a life that refuses to betray itself. This year will ask questions of us that cannot be answered with words. Who are you when no one applauds? What do you hold sacred when nothing familiar is left to cling to? Where do you draw your line, not in judgment of others, but in quiet loyalty to your own soul? This is the refinement no one can do for you, and it is already underway. Some will walk away from roles they once believed were theirs forever. Some will speak less and listen more, not because they are uncertain, but because certainty has taught them restraint. Others will rebuild their lives around simplicity, humility, truth, not because they failed in the old way, but because something in them has remembered who they were before the noise. These are not passive shifts. They are holy revolutions in disguise. And those who walk through them will not emerge with more answers, but with more capacity to hold mystery without fear. They will become the ones others quietly look to, not for direction, but for example, because in a collapsing world, the most radical thing you can be is whole. And wholeness, now more than ever, is a form of resistance. If something in you has recognized this unfolding, not just as an idea, but as a confirmation of what you've already felt, then you are not alone. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are responding, and that matters more than you know. Before we close this message, take a moment to still yourself. Wherever you are, pause, breathe, and open your heart. What follows is not just words, it is a sacred invitation. A prayer written for this season, for this threshold, for the chosen ones walking through the unveiling with courage, clarity, and faith. Receive it fully. Let it speak to the parts of you that words don't always reach. Holy and sovereign Lord, we come before you in this sacred moment, aware of the shaking, yet anchored in the knowing that you are not a God of confusion, but of divine order. You are the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yet you continue to call your people into newness, into truth, into alignment with what is real and eternal. As the veil lifts and what has been hidden begins to rise to the surface, we do not tremble in fear, we stand in reverence. We ask now, refine us, O Lord. Refine our minds that have grown weary in a world addicted to noise. Refine our hearts that have longed for belonging in places that could not hold us. Refine our spirits that hunger not for performance, but for your presence. You have said in your word, "Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." Jeremiah 33:3. And so we call to you not for escape, but for understanding, not for signs in the sky, but for stillness in the soul. We do not ask for comfort alone, but for clarity. We do not ask for ease, but for endurance. We do not ask for platforms, but for purity of heart. Father, for those who are walking through the hidden shift, for those who feel the old ways crumbling beneath their feet and yet cannot see the new foundation, strengthen them. Remind them that the wilderness is not abandonment, it is preparation. That, like Moses, who spent years unseen before returning with your word, they are not delayed, they are being formed. For the ones whose discernment has become sharp, who see what others do not see, who feel what others deny, grant peace to their perception. Let them not grow bitter, nor isolated in pride, but deeply rooted in wisdom and humility. Guard their hearts, Lord, from the heaviness of carrying what they cannot always explain. Let your Spirit interpret what words cannot. To the ones who have walked through separation not just from people, but from false selves, from lifeless routines, from environments that once felt familiar but now feel foreign, grant comfort. Help them release with grace what can no longer go where you are calling them. Let them trust that divine distance is not rejection, but redirection. Lord, you said, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" Isaiah 43:19. Give us eyes to perceive what you are doing, not in the headlines, but in our own hearts. Let us not miss the holy simply because it looks ordinary. Let us not reject the calling simply because it comes without applause. We pray now for the spirit of integrity, that the chosen will no longer live in contradiction, but in coherence, that every private knowing will become a public alignment, not for show, but for truth, that we would walk worthy of the revelation we have received and carry it not with pride, but with quiet faithfulness. May the rhythm of our lives begin to match the rhythm of your Spirit. Let us live unhurried, even in urgency. Let us speak slowly, even when surrounded by noise. Let our discernment be matched by discretion. Let our passion be anchored in patience, for it is written, "In quietness and trust shall be your strength." Isaiah 30:15. Let us find strength not in striving, but in surrender. To those whose spirits feel tired, not from action, but from inner stretching, breathe into them again. You, O God, are the one who gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Isaiah 40:29. You do not demand performance, you offer presence, and so we receive you. Not as an idea, but as the living God who walks with us, even in the places we do not yet understand. Let 2026 not be feared, but embraced, not because we are ready in ourselves, but because you are faithful in all things. Let us not be people of panic, but people of purpose. Not watchers of signs, but carriers of them. Let our lives reveal what you have spoken. And in the still places of our hearts, Lord, place this final truth. We are not behind. We are not broken. We are being positioned for such a time as this. In Jesus' holy and mighty name, amen. If this prayer has spoken to you, if something in your spirit feels seen, affirmed, or gently awakened, share it in the comments. Let this space become more than a screen. Let it become sacred ground where your voice, your process, your truth finds echo. Whether it's one word or a full testimony, let it be your way of saying, I hear the call, and I am walking with it. And if this journey has blessed you, subscribe and stay connected. There is more to be revealed, and the path becomes clearer when we walk it together. Grace and peace to you, always.